Welcome one, welcome all, Techno Vandal here. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD may be long away from its Switch release despite the developer's desires. FZero fans may have some hope yet for the long dormant franchise, and Dead Space received its new release date. This and more coming up. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD was released for the Wii U years ago, to everyone's delight. It updated the graphics and motion controls and was overall a joy replaying. The problem is that it was released for the Wii U. Nintendo has moved on and now we have the Switch, and with all the other ports that are currently on the console, surely Nintendo should release the Twilight Princess HD port for the Switch, correct? The developers over at Tantalus, the same team who made the remaster, would agree. Strangely though, Nintendo has yet to talk to them about it. Tantalus CEO Tom Crago had this to say: "No, and look, we'd obviously love to do that, but that hasn't been a priority for Nintendo, or at least not in the conversations that they've had with us. The way it works with our friends over there is we'll jump at any opportunity we can to work on one of their titles. There's a constant dialogue between our two companies. Often, there's a bit of time that passes between titles, and there might be other ideas that are kicked around. But in the case of Skyward Sword, some time passed, and then the email comes. Would you be interested in considering bringing Skyward Sword on the Switch? To which the answer is, of course, yes we would. And then we enter into the conversation with Nintendo around what that might look like, and eventually we get it underway. So it was similar in a lot of senses in the terms of how Twilight Princess, on Wii U, came to fruition. Many rumors have said that Twilight Princess and Wind Waker would be releasing as a double pack release eventually, though it would seem that for now, Nintendo isn't interested. What do you think? Will Twilight Princess HD be released for the Switch eventually, or are you not convinced? Let me know down in the comments. Speaking of developers wanting to bring games to the Switch, Reggie Fils-Aimé hinted that some developer is playing around with an idea that may bring F-Zero back. In an interview with VentureBeat, Reggie said, "Why was F-Zero abandoned? The insight I would share is that, at least during my tenure, Nintendo developers are always experimenting with different gameplay styles, always thinking about where a unique experience could be applied back, either to an existing franchise or maybe creating a new franchise." And to me, this is quite evident. While something like Star Fox Zero was a bit gimmicky, Metroid Dread was fantastic, and it returned to the series to a proper form while offering something new and fun. Both were seemingly forgotten franchises that were brought back and heavily pushed by Nintendo. So in my eyes, I could definitely see Nintendo toying with the idea of bringing back F-Zero. Reggie continued by saying, "My bet is that somewhere in the Kyoto development centers, some developer is playing around with the idea that might be applied to F-Zero. It's never a situation, at least in my experience, where the company makes a conscious decision not to continue supporting XYZ franchise. Historically, it just hasn't worked that way. Not when I was there." Very exciting news to hear. Couple this with Reggie's acknowledgments in another interview a few days back about Mother 3 and talks about localizing it, though probably not for the foreseeable future. It does bring hope to any other franchise that Nintendo may have on its backlog. On a quick note, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, is coming to the Switch's online expansion pack for subscribers. It's set to be released on May 20th and will be the 15th Nintendo 64 game available on the Switch Online, with the full roster being Banjo-Kazooie, Dr. Mario 64, F-Zero X, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Mario Golf, Mario Kart 64, Mario Tennis, Paper Mario, Sin and Punishment, Star Fox 64, Super Mario 64, Win Back, and Yoshi's Story. A good addition to the lineup, to be sure. Now if only they could get GoldenEye. It seems it has finally happened. The Switch has outsold the PlayStation 4 in the US. While PlayStation, in my eyes, has seemed to be more popular with Western audiences, the Switch has come up and flipped that notion on its head. While it's not surprising if you've kept up with Switch sales, it's still somewhat surreal to finally see. What makes it more shocking is how little time the Switch has overtaken the competition, with the PS4 coming out about 9 years ago, while the Switch only came out 5. On top of that, the Switch is only halfway through its life cycle, meaning that there's a strong possibility that its sales keep skyrocketing to overtake the Wii, Xbox 360, and perhaps even the PS2. Though I have my doubts on overtaking the PlayStation 2 sales, it's still possible, and if there's a Switch model on the horizon, I'd go so far as to say it's probable. But what do you think? Can the Switch keep this momentum up, or will it taper out? Let me know in the comments. Before we get to the final piece of news today, be sure to give this video a like if you've enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get more. And our final bit of news, the Dead Space remake from EA finally got a release date. And while we've had the developers show off the game over their YouTube channel, we haven't gotten any confirmation on its release schedule. That was until the other day when their website listed the game as being available January 27th, 2023. And unlike a lot of other games that have been announced and delayed recently, Starfield, I think that with how much the developers have been showing off the development of the game, it's a safe bet that they'll finish it in time. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Rob for Techno Vandal, and I'll see you all next time.